Not long ago, the world's attention turned once again to the skies over Ukraine, when massive flames engulfed the Chernihiv region after a Russian airstrike hit oil depots in Bobrovitsa and Pryluki. The explosions lit up the night, sending thick columns of smoke rising for miles. Satellite images and local footage showed what analysts described as one of the most significant attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure in 2025. Russia claimed it was a precision strike against a military facility. Ukraine, meanwhile, accused Moscow of deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure to trigger an energy crisis ahead of winter. But beyond accusations and political statements, one truth became undeniable. This was not an isolated event. It's part of a repeated pattern that defines the modern face of warfare. For nearly 2 years, Russia has systematically targeted Ukraine's oil depots, power plants, and transport lines. The strategy is simple but devastating. Cripple the logistics that keep Kyiv alive. Every winter, the same scenario unfolds. Geranium-2 drones, Russia's version of the Iranian Shahed 136, fly low through the night, striking critical energy nodes with deadly precision. To Moscow, this isn't just a military operation. It's a war of energy and economics, a way to weaken Ukraine without deploying massive ground forces. And despite global condemnation, the results remain effective: power outages, halted trains, and rising domestic fuel prices. Yet, the question lingers: why does Ukraine still seem one step behind? Is it purely technical limitations or the deeper issue of dependence on foreign support? Ukraine's resilience is unquestionable, but behind its bravery lies a heavy reliance on the United States and NATO. Modern air defense systems like Patriot or NASAMS that guard Kyiv's skies aren't made locally, and each interceptor missile can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, used to shoot down a geranium drone worth maybe $5,000. That imbalance creates a dangerous equation. The longer the war drags on, the higher the costs climb. And when logistics depend entirely on foreign deliveries, the outcome is no longer decided by the battlefield, but by political decisions made in Washington and Brussels. The uncomfortable question arises: is Ukraine still fighting its own war, or is it now part of a much larger power contest? From the outside, NATO appears united behind Ukraine. In reality, that unity comes with limits. The United States leads the flow of weapons and funding, while Europe provides training, logistics, and additional air defense systems. Yet none of them are willing to send ground troops to the front lines. Here lies the paradox of Western support. They want Ukraine to win, but not at the cost of a direct confrontation with Russia. They want to maintain global influence, yet they fear escalation, nuclear brinkmanship, and domestic fatigue. For many analysts, this is no longer simply moral support. It's the evolution of a modern proxy war, where Ukraine serves as the testing ground for strategy, technology, and political will between two global blocs. Unlike its rivals, Russia isn't racing against the clock. Moscow is playing a long game, a war of attrition. Instead of chasing quick victories, Russia aims to bleed its opponent economically and logistically. With cheap drones and mass-produced missiles, it pushes Ukraine's defenses to their limit. Every time a drone is shot down, Russia loses little. But Ukraine loses an expensive interceptor and the West loses a bit more of its finite stockpile. That's the quiet advantage few discuss. Russia fights with factories and time, while Ukraine fights with loans and promises. This war is no longer about who controls which piece of land. It's about who can endure the longest. For Kyiv, it's a struggle for sovereignty and a future aligned with the West. For Moscow, it's about preserving influence and rejecting NATO's presence on its doorstep. And for the United States and its allies, it's a geopolitical test, whether the Western world order can still project strength without waging a direct war. But beyond every political or strategic layer, ordinary civilians continue to pay the highest price. Living without power, without heat, and without certainty about what tomorrow might bring. The strike on Chernihiv is just one of dozens that mark a new era of modern warfare. A war no longer defined by tanks and jets, but by economic stamina, technological adaptation, and industrial capacity. As long as Ukraine depends on outside aid and Russia maintains its production tempo, this conflict will persist, slowly, painfully, and indefinitely. And in a world growing more divided, this war stands as a mirror for everyone watching. That in 21st century geopolitics, victory no longer belongs to the strongest, but to those who can withstand the longest without losing direction. All visuals, animations, and illustrations featured in this video are AI-assisted reconstructions designed to clarify context and convey the scale of events. They are not meant to replace verified documentary evidence. This script is based on open-source intelligence, OSINT, credible news outlets, and expert analyses. Its purpose is strictly informational and educational, to provide strategic perspective, not to endorse or discredit any party involved in the conflict.